Alright, so let's get started. I have already downloaded the STIG Viewer for Windows, and I have extracted the files from the compressed folder. So we are going to open it up to show the STIG Viewer. We're going to import some files. So we're going to go to File, import our STIG. We're going to import the Cisco router. It brings up two different variations. We'll just click on this first one here. So let's look at this first vulnerability. This is really cool. I really liked that it'll show you the different vulnerabilities for your devices or applications. I thought it was really interesting that you could not only just use it on routers or whatever, you can also use it on applications, so like Windows, Microsoft Office, different applications in addition to the hardware and configuration setups. So let's look at a couple of these vulnerabilities. We have vulnerability ID is V-96007, and this is reminding you that this requirement is not applicable to file transfer actions such as FTP, SCP, and SFTP. It's telling you to review the router configuration to determine if concurrent management sessions are limited, as shown in the example below. So this would be the code you would type into the router. And then if the router is not configured to limit the number of concurrent management sessions, then this would be a finding. You would have to self-report it and to mitigate the risk, or you would have to determine if your company is willing to accept the risk and if you need a risk exception for that. Let's look at some other ones here. We've got vulnerability V-96009. This one's telling you that the Cisco router is not compliant with this requirement. However, the risk associated with this requirement can be fully mitigated if the router is configured to utilize an authentication server to authenticate users and authorize them for administrative access. So it's reminding you, review the router configuration to verify that the device is configured to use an authentication server, and it is the primary source for the authentication as shown in the following example. Again, this is showing you what you would type into your router in order to get that and the different outcome you will get. And then also again, if the router is not configured to use the authentication server to authenticate and authorize users for administrative access, then this would be a finding. Let's see, now let's look at another one. Let's jump down. This is vulnerability V-96025. This is telling you to review the Cisco router configuration to verify that it enforces the limit of 3 consecutive invalid login attempts as shown in the example below. The configuration example above will block any login attempt for 15 minutes after the consecutive invalid logon attempts are made within a 2-minute period. If the Cisco router is not configured to enforce the limit of 3 consecutive invalid login attempts, then this is a finding. So it's basically saying if somebody can't log in after 3 attempts, they got to be locked out for a while. And that is probably a good idea to have for security anyway. But I like this tool. It's really interesting. I'd like to see if you could make a STIG file of your own configuration and to see if it will go through and it will tell you if you are compliant with these rules or not. I'd also be curious to see if when you do that, if it provides any false positives or if it just says, oh, you're good to go, and it's actually not catching something. So that'd be interesting to figure out. But so far, I like this tool. It's pretty interesting. There's obviously tons of vulnerabilities here, but it's very interesting.